Okay, at this time, it's 3:02 PM. I'm going to call to order the Pollyanna Trailway Management Council meeting for Wednesday, February 21, 2024. We'll raise and pay respects to the flag and also have an invocation by Vice Chair Brakefield after the pledge.
Flags in the back of the left-hand side.
The pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us all together, giving us this wonderful trail. Let it be for the enjoyment of the citizens and also the safety of our citizens. In the Lord's name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll do roll call. Secretary McDonald.
Roll call for attendance of the council members. Ed Brakefield.
Here.
Bruce Pearson.
Here.
Matt Pfeiffer.
Here.
Aaron Watley.
Here.
Curtis Wright.
Here.
Jonathan Knoll.
Here.
Mike McDonald. Here. Joe Medor for Oxford.
Here.
Quorum. Okay, great. Okay, onward to approval of the agenda. Any additions or deletions off the agenda? If not hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion. We approve the agenda as written.
Support.
Okay, a motion by Vice Chair Brakefield, second by, sounded like
Matthew.
Councilor Pfeiffer. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries. On the consent agenda. Council members, as you know, it was not in the board packet, the financials and the bills to be paid. It was subsequently sent on, I think yesterday I sent that out to you. But anyway, if you're not aware of the bills to be paid, I believe it was $7,506.87. So is there any questions on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda to include the January 17, 2024 meeting minutes, approval of January 2024 bills to be paid in the amount of $7,506.87, receive and file the financial reports for January 2024, and receive and file the trail manager's report for February 2024.
Second.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Brakefield, second by Councilor Knoll to approve the consent agenda. Any further questions? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call. Secretary McDonald.
Mr. Brakefield.
Yes?
Mr. Pearson.
Yes.
Mr. Pfeiffer.
Yes.
Mr. Watley.
Yes.
Mr. Wright.
Yes.
Mr. Knoll.
Yes.
McDonald. Yes. Mr. Medor.
Yes.
Okay, great. That's all approved. Moving on now to public comment. Any public that would like to speak at this time to council? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to citizen rep report. Citizen rep Green, anything to report?
I have nothing to report.
No, nothing to report. Okay, we're going to move on now. We're going to have a presentation at this time from our planners for Oxford Township, from Carlisle Wartman, Megan Masson-Minnick, and
Chris Norris.
Chris Nordstrom. Yes, thank you for reminding me.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having us, and want to clarify, it's not really a presentation, more we're hoping for a conversation, and we're really here because of Linda Moran, because she's sitting on the Community Engagement Steering Committee for the Oxford Township's master plan. And when I asked which groups to the steering committee we should come to, she said absolutely the Pollyanna Trail, and offered to get us on an agenda. And so just to have the opportunity to talk to everybody involved in the Pollyanna Trail is a real opportunity, we felt, to get new insights into Oxford Township as we're looking to update their master plan, which looks at the community's land use and development over the next 10 to 20 years, but always part of that is transportation, and of course, trails, safety paths, and Pollyanna Trail would be part of that as well to look at. So in your packet, we sent you a memo basically outlining 4 questions that we'd love to ask to you and get feedback on. How we would use that feedback is that we bring it to the Planning Commission, along with these other groups, interviews that we're doing, and so that they can have it in their minds when they are crafting the update to the master plan, which will probably be significant. You can talk to Mr. Nold. He sits on the Planning Commission at Oxford Township, and I think through the process so far, the township's really looking at forward for the next 10 years and know that they're going to encounter a lot of development pressure and how to cope with that, how to plan for that, and what should come along with that. What we wanted to ask our what are the top 3 assets of Oxford Township? What are the township's challenges in the next 10 years? How should we attach that portion of the plan from 2019 that deals with trails? How should those be updated? And also, we're having a community open house at March 10th, and didn't know if there's anything from this body that they wanted to have asked there. We met with the Safety Path Committee last week with Oxford Township, and they had some questions that they would like us to incorporate into that event. So, Mr. Chair, I don't know whether we should go through each item and get everybody to respond, or whether you work better with just an open conversation.
I would say, you know, the questions you want asked of us, I guess we'll start with that one then. We'll open it up to the council to actually answer what they want. I know myself and Councilor Knoll, we basically have an advantage because we are Oxford Township reps. I think Councilor Medora is the village manager as well, probably has some insight. But as far as Orion and Addison and Lemon go, they may not have as much they'd like to offer, but maybe from the aspect of the Pollyant Trail, they can offer those two checks. Yes.
I'd like to ask a question. Could you give us a summary of what the questions and issues came from the safety path? Since the safety path and the trail work together in a lot of things, could you tip us off ahead of time so we might want to refresh our memories to ask questions in a different way?
So
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
no,
I
and
apologize.
I'm looking for my notes now, which are here. So from that meeting, really, on top 3 assets of Oxford Township, folks said the parks and police, fire, infrastructure, water in terms of the lakes, and that they have a prolific aquifer were the top 3 assets, and also, of course, the safety paths and the Pollyant Trail was mentioned. In terms of challenges that group felt that the township was facing, it was making the community walkable, looking at traffic flow, specifically on Coates, Newman, and St. George, and also controlling the growth. And how do you do that also with water and sewer, and also with new housing would probably come demand for parks and other services, and so how would you deal with that as a challenge?
Thanks.
So any comments from council on?
I guess one of your best assets would be that you're so close to Addison Township. That would be, just let you know.
Speaking for myself, in our community, Pollyant Trail is very high on our list as far as priorities, and it's a huge asset that's often taken for granted, but I think it is the pride and joy of every participating community, you know, that's represented here.
Floor is open. Any other comments on assets, Oxford Township? Good.
I would just say that in Orion, seeing the development over the last 10, 20 years, you have great opportunity in Oxford Township to really capitalize on securing and protecting natural resources right now. So being ahead of the curve with development and the growth, people are just moving more north, and so there's great opportunity, beautiful land. So they'll complement our communities nicely.
I would just say also that in Addison Township, we have, our ideal is to keep this area rural, okay? And we totally enjoy the Pollyant Trail, and that we can go into Oxford. I know Oxford is building up and expanding, and we enjoy those services over there. We just don't want that kind of development in Addison, but we encourage you to have those kind of stores and everything in Oxford, because then we can come home to heaven after we've done our shopping.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yes.
but we just don't have the main thoroughfare, which is M24, and that's your big asset for all your businesses.
Yeah.
So for us, we are trying to limit our businesses and keep our area, you know, so that we can have our horses and our buggies on the back roads, and we can have the lake and the less dense population. So we encourage Oxford to expand.
Keep going.
Yep.
Councilor Pfeiffer.
first of all, we appreciate that, Addison is staying so far behind the times. It gives us a chance to step back in history and remember what it used to be like in Orion in the
we,
old days.
we do say that, living in Orion is a vacation every day or whatever, but
Yeah.
when the people from Orion go on vacation, they come to Addison. Right, so go ahead.
So as Aaron, just kind of following up on what he said, we have had tremendous growth and expansion in Orion, and so we are now where I believe Oxford's going to be in 10 years in terms of growth cycle. And one of the challenges when you're growing is obviously residents as a collective don't like growth. As a collective, they want to keep what they remember. They want to, they could move to Addison, I guess, but they want to keep what they remember. So I would say that it's important that as you're creating your master plan and as you're going forward, that you are highlighting the protected land. You are highlighting the gems like the Pollyant Trail, and you are continuing to make sure that as this growth, the inevitable growth comes, as the infrastructure heads up 24 so that it can support all this industrial and these neighborhoods that are going to come, that that the residents see that there's been great care taken to protect the natural assets of the community, and that your growth be tempered with balance. We've done that, I think, very well in Orion, but the residents still, every new complex is a complaint or is it's all about getting pockets lined, it's all that. So this is an opportunity for Oxford to kind of control that narrative as they grow. And I think that they're going to find it more and more important as time goes on.
Thank you.
Put on that.
I guess the only point I'd add, all great points so far, I've touched on all of them. The trails in general, connectivity between the trails and be able to cross over and get from point A to point B. Sometimes crossing roads is a problem. And so, the Pollyant Trail crossing at the west side of the village is an angle they're talking about maybe changing the trajectory of the trail to make a shorter crossing, with a safer crossing. You got a hill involved. So all those things connecting to the neighborhoods, some communities require pocket parks and things like that into a community that has over 50 homes or something like that. Keeps it more localized neighborhood park maybe, and people don't have to travel so far across town and stuff. So.
Keeping up with what Bruce was saying, we've been compared with going to the Upper Peninsula without the buildings, without the houses, without anything. And just imagine yourself leaving Orion, traffic, 24, going through Oxford. And when you come out to Addison Township, you see houses and everything, and then all of a sudden it goes away, and you're all by yourself. You hear the environment, you hear the birds, you hear the geese flying over without cars or anything. It is an oasis, and for miles you can just enjoy nature in itself. That would be nice to see in a master plan, that this Addison Township is rural, and we want to keep it that way. In 10 years, we don't want to be like Oxford in 10 years. We want to be exactly the way we are right now. So,
Just so people understand, I think we're the only township in all of Oakland County that doesn't have a traffic light. So
Yeah, probably maybe water and sewer service too.
we don't have water and sewer, and that's on purpose.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, your goal is to get input for the master plan for Oxford.
For the master plan for Oxford, but thank you for sharing your assets and also your challenges and what you'd like to see in your master plan, because the neighboring, what Oxford Township plans for would affect its neighbors as well. And so what's planned on those edges, or and especially that the village is in the center of the township, and some people have described to me like almost the heart of the community, that there needs to be connections to and from and whatnot, but also respect for what neighbors are planning to do or want to preserve. A few people have talked about challenges in terms of connecting trails and connecting neighborhoods. Were there any, and also the challenge of dealing with growth pressure. Are there any other challenges that you feel like would be facing Oxford Township that you feel like you would like the Planning Commission or the Township Board to know about?
Well, as a board member of Oxford Township, A couple of things I have. Your traffic is going to continue to be a problem in Oxford. We have basically 1.5 thoroughfares, Baldwin being part of Brandon Township, M24 being the other corridor. That's the only north-south avenue to get through Oxford Township. You have nothing east of that unless you take Lake George Road through Addison to actually bypass Oxford. We are looking at getting Dunlap Road paved, but that'll probably be till 2027, 2028, which will bypass the village, which may cause some animosity from the village businesses. But people are looking to, for the most part, drive through Oxford, not stop in Oxford. It's something that, unless you want to eat for the most part, Oxford doesn't have a whole lot of businesses open after 5 o'clock to patronize. The other thing is, tying in with this council is our safety paths in Oxford. We have probably 12 miles of safety path, and within the last time that this master plan was updated, we put in probably 4 miles of safety path, and we've overlaid another mile of it. So it's important that we have a solid infrastructure of safety paths and tying into the Pollyant Trail. And right now, we're proposing to put a millage on the ballot in November for safety path maintenance, construction, and upkeep. I think that if we utilize the methods of this council to Oxford Township for management of that safety path, we'd definitely be in a better position than we are today with the maintenance of it and the upkeep of it. Trying to take care of the assets that you have and improve them. So with that, I think that's something that we want to see these things be maintained and improved and actually become a major asset of the community.
I just have one thing. I hope you don't add any more marijuana outlets in Oxford. It's getting to be, I mean, everybody comments on when you go on M24, I think there's more marijuana places than there are probably places to eat or buy liquor now.
We still have them outnumbered.
Pardon?
I think we still have them outnumbered.
I just, see, we just don't allow it here. But I mean, I'm just saying I think it's getting saturated in Oxford. That's just my opinion that people are commenting that, boy, how many more are there going to be?
Go to Councilman Noel. Councilman Noel, we saw at council table, then we'll extend it out. Councilman Noel.
I've had an opportunity to sit on many committees along with you, Megan. And one of the things that has opened up my eyes is what we've talked about in some of the committees is design criteria. And design criteria can go along with the word density. A lot of the folks have come and say we don't want density because we just don't want the traffic. But I've had an opportunity to sit with some developers, and the developers have commented that some of the subdivisions that they have designed in the past are designed in such a way to limit and reduce the density on our very few roads that we have traveling north and south in Oxford. And that's one area that I'm going to spend some time on researching and getting involved with what we can do for design criterias of subdivisions, what we can do for, I like the idea of a pocket park, somebody brought that up, over 50 homes. That might reduce some of the pressure, but things that we can do in our design criteria to help the density within the township. I don't say complement the density, I say help the density. So that's one thing that I'm going to look at as I sit on the many different boards to discuss and bring other people's input to that.
All right. Kevin had your hand up.
Thanks. As citizen rep, I just want to endorse, of course, everything the board is saying, and I know it's been said before, but maybe take it a step further, very much endorse the concept of the safety trails and development, because there are places that are just unsafe. Really, there's not a good connection from point A to point B. And with that, as you're looking at density and development, keep in mind that as neighborhoods develop, that you have connections to the trails from those neighborhoods, whether it be a street, a sidewalk, or whatever. But, the trail's right here and the neighborhood's here, and it's a big grass berm to get there. Maybe just a little different design, you can get there a lot easier. So, and the last point is just a recognition of this board, and just realizing that they represent so many different governmental, agencies that really work together. And to keep that in mind when you're planning, that it can't be easy to sit on this board and come up with the decisions, because what's good for one may not always be in the best interest of another, but they all, in the years I've been on this board, I've seen them all work together, and I think that needs to be kept in mind as a master plan for the whole township develops. There's a lot of interest, but also a lot of cooperation on this board.
Anything else? Are we into,
Yeah, Pfeiffer.
Counselor Pfeiffer?
He's been waiting.
I'm patient.
Patiently.
I am patient. First of all, great input. I think this is hopefully what you guys are looking for. You asked specifically about what you might want to have the planning commission hear, or what they might need to hear. And I think, again, just seeing what we have dealt with and are dealing with in Orion, you guys are at a point where that infrastructure isn't up 24 yet. So there's a lot of land that hasn't been, hasn't really been utilized. It's been sitting there, that's going to all of a sudden become available. And when it comes specifically to zoning, at this stage, this is an important stage to really look at how that zoning is going to affect that future growth. And if there were an opportunity to make adjustments to help them fit the end goal that Oxford has for balance, I'm sure they have the goal of creating balance and making sure that we that it's not oversaturated in areas and anything. We get a lot of resident complaints, or and they don't understand that we're hand tied to zoning. And yes, we can allow changes, but they have to be very they have to meet a lot of criteria for those changes. When they're at this point of, we all know, major growth coming, this is a better time to be addressing that and think about the zoning and how it sits now. And even if you had to make some changes, it's going to be a lot less painful now than when the growth is already underway and you've got potential lawsuits from developers and those kinds of things. So I would be advising them to really think strongly about how their future plans are affected by the current zoning in those properties where expansion's coming, and to make sure it's what they really want. Because the calls we get of, another apartment building, how they're doing it to get our tax dollars, or they're doing it to line their pockets, or they're doing it, well, it's none of those things. We're doing it because it's the law, it's zoned, and we have to allow, and sometimes we'll make exceptions because it's better, we believe, for our community. But now's the time to really focus on that.
Secretary McDonald?
My comment follows Kevin's comment, and speaking specifically about the Pollyant Trail, we struggle with managing the adjacent properties to the trail because some of them are empty. Probably in the further north you go, the more less developed they are. But touching on directly, the having access points for new developments, rather than having every single home having a pathway to the trail. Things like that can directly affect how the trail is seen and how it is used. And of course, I think most people enjoy trails because of the vistas they offer as well as the connectivity. So changing those vistas is a huge part of what the Pollyant Trail looks like. So I think if there's a way to tailor your planning with that in mind, perhaps less density along the trail properties would be a real asset for all parties. Thank you.
All right, Megan, next.
Well, the next was if there was anything that you felt that, if you read the part of the master plan that was in there, that you felt that it should be updated. And it's fairly streamlined. There's only a couple of paragraphs and there's only a couple of sentences on the Pollyant Trail. So I feel like from the conversation you had already that should be beefed up to really talk about what an asset it is, and also that the asset of the board in terms of being a cross-jurisdictional body that's an example of cooperation and getting things done on a regional basis. Would there be anything else that you would want added or highlighted in that?
we may be able to actually give you some dialogue, I'll say that,
Okay.
to see if it will work.
Yeah.
What we want to have included
Mm-hmm.
from a council standpoint.
Mr. Chair. And you mentioned how it's separate entity, I think emphasizing that. Because a
Okay.
lot of the public, they don't see the lines, they don't see the differentiations between this trail that's managed by a group versus that township trail that they go to your office to complain about.
Right.
Got
That's
it.
true.
Well, the DNR's involved.
Kristen?
You might want to also mention that that portion within Oxford of the Pollyant Trail is part of the Iron Bell Trail, which is a cross-state trail. And that really does help to elevate the level of importance for the trailway itself.
I got one.
It is mentioned in the current one we're looking at. There's a little board in
Yep,
there.
that we have maps and things if you'd like to include.
Secretary McDonald.
Brandon Township is also on the border of Oxford Township. And Brandon is had been a suggested route for the Iron Bell extension or development, and it's pretty much stalled anything changing. The attitudes of Brandon towards the not the Pollyant, but the Iron Bell Trail concept. So I'd encourage more dialogue between Oxford and Brandon if that's truly something that Oxford would like to promote as far as a connector for the Iron Bell and the Pollyant Trail, because that's basically stalled at this time. So thank you.
Anything else? Anything else you need from us, Megan?
Well, we're having open house on March 10th. Linda's volunteered to be there and is going to be helping. So if there's, and we'll definitely have a board about non-motorized network connections and asking people about those. So we'll highlight the Pollyant Trail during that. But if there's anything else that you can think of, either right now or you want to share later, we won't have everything finalized until probably March 5th. So we'd welcome any input in ways that we could help you then.
All right, anything final before Megan leaves? Chris leaves.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate you taking a bit of your meeting in order to help Oxford Township.
Thank you too for coming out.
Anything for Oxford.
Amen.
We got that on tape, right?
Everybody's got a master plan coming up.
All right, we're gonna move on our agenda. And next one up is under unfinished business of redesign and resurfacing RFP. I know Kristen Wolfang and, oh, you've been working on that?
Not officially, no.
Kristen, say.
Kristen's up.
Just me. Just,
All right,
yeah.
Kristen, you have the floor to let us know what we need to do next.
Yep, we'll get more money.
Good afternoon, Council. I did provide a presentation at the January meeting for those that were in attendance. Basically, the situation that we have is in 2019, we received 3 proposals for the preliminary engineering to resurface the trailway and make some safety improvements. Those range from about $58,000 up to just over $100,000. When we released the RFP last fall, we received 1 proposal and it was near $360,000. So we have a problem, and we need to scale this project back so that we can rebid or reissue the RFP and get some positive momentum going on the trail for resurfacing. So during that process, with the help of Linda and a couple other folks, we really took a look at the entire trailway, and we tried to get each segment of the trail a rating system, if you will, from poor to very good. And the stretch that we all kind of agreed upon at the January meeting was between Hosner and Elmwood. So that's mostly in Addison Township and a little bit through the village of Leonard. But that section is about 4.1 miles. This project will address several safety concerns. The trailway surface is in very poor condition. There's a few culverts out there that need to be replaced. So that's where we left the January meeting. And then At the direction of the council, I was able to update the RFP and prepare that information. So I have a draft copy that I can share with the council as well. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns at this point?
Is there an estimated cost that you have in mind for the actual construction between Hauser and Elmwood?
We spoke about that yesterday with the DNR and the way that construction prices are right now, knowing that this would probably go out to bid and be constructed in 2020, late 25, maybe 26. It's hard to predict what that would be at this time. So the preliminary engineering would really give us a good engineer's estimate for those costs.
And what's the cost of preliminary engineering? That's the
Well, we-
That's our-
That's the RFP.
It was 50 at one point.
Yep. So, I did reach out to the road commission, their maintenance director, just to have some conversations because the majority of the roadway crossings are gravel roads. And so he gave me some really good input on how to reduce some of the flooding issues that are at the gravel roadways, and ways that we can work with some of the gravel operators that are grading the roadways, so that we can make a smooth transition across the road for trail users. And then alleviate some of the drainage problems that we have. I also reached out to one of our funders just to see if we could change the scope of the project, if that would impact the grant in any way, and they said no, they didn't think so. Once we get the proposals back, they would be happy to move this through their commission and get approvals for it. So they don't see any issues from a funding standpoint to rebid the project with a smaller scope.
Quarter of the trail, 4.1 miles. Pretty good. Councilman Madore, you had a comment?
Well, I'll just say, in case somebody wasn't here last time, I don't know, the point you made last year, because you had some spots marked on the map that were over there southwest, very south end of the trail, but you had be like a contiguous stretch. It's kind of why we honed in on this stretch, because we could start at point A and point B and go everything between, because we weren't allowed hopscotch through, right?
That's correct, yes, it's got to be a contiguous project.
Right.
Unfortunately.
So to play this-
Do spot treatments.
So to play this forward, preliminary engineering, go out for bid, get the proposal back, and construct in a short idea of what needs to be done. And you said late 2025?
Yep, so the schedule that I put together would be to issue the RFP on March 1st, which gives us a little bit over about a week and a half to just review the draft one last time, make any final edits, and then put it out to bid. We would get responses back on April 12th. There's spring break in there, so I wanted to give consultants just a little bit more time to review it. And then a final consulting firm would be selected at the May 15th meeting for the Pollyant Trailway
All
Management
right,
Council.
all right, so that's fairly aggressive, which is good.
What kind of time frame would you give them to, sorry, Chris, to
I'll go for it.
perform work? I mean, you want it done by winter?
Yeah, definitely. I want at least a set of base plans to include in an October 2nd grant application submittal to the Transportation Alternatives Program. So if we do that, then we would be looking at a decision from the MDOT and SEMCOG board in November, late November. And then hopefully, finalize all the plans in early 25. And then, there's a lot of work to do between those milestones. I'm gonna say construction season 2026.
Councilor Knoll,
Is there any targets that we're looking for grants? Or is this going to be self-funded for this first 4.1 miles RFP?
So for the RFP that we would be issuing on March 1st, we have $100,000 for that contract.
But we're not going to try to get anything between now and November? We feel the $100,000 will be enough to cover the RFP and the work by November of this year?
I believe so.
Okay.
And then on that October 2nd date is the due date for the Transportation Alternatives Program funding. So we would try to hit that date to get that.
Then, in turn of having this engineering done, is that going to line us up for the potential of grants for 2025?
So the TAP grant or the Transportation Alternatives Program, that's for construction.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we also reached out to the DNR and had a meeting with them yesterday. And there's another source of federal funding called the Recreational Trails Program that the DNR and MDOT jointly oversee. So that is another potential.
Well, thank you for putting together the RFP and a timeline, but then you also know of all the other potentials that we can grasp. And I appreciate that. Thank you for your hard work.
Try.
So May 15th is the awarding of the RFP. That's the,
Yep, final decision is by this
and
company.
and you're gonna put that on Minton, or where's it going?
That's my question for you. Is Oxford Township willing to
We
go
can
through
put
the
it-
same process?
you can do that.
Okay. Yep, so I can get you all of the materials for review, and then
Yeah.
if there's no changes, then we'll just.
Yeah, we're looking for your guidance on that, Kristen, as well.
Yep.
Trail Manager Moran.
Kristen and I did speak with the DNR yesterday.
Yeah.
And they did put us on their list of projects to watch for coming up. So they are on board. They are totally aware of what we're doing and what we want to do. And they are trying to hire her away. I said no. But, no, so they are aware and we are on their list.
List for,
It's the recreational trails
Yes,
program
okay.
funding.
Yeah, so they are watching for our application.
so, for like preferential treatment?
No, but you have to be noted to be on their list.
Okay.
So, and they are in agreement with what we have
All right.
planned. So they are aware.
So you'll send that out to all council members, what you're planning to send out for
I
next week?
certainly can, if we get approval today to move forward and proceed with the RFP, then
Oh,
issuing that.
I need to put a motion together. We'll have to have a motion from that council. Who's got a motion for the, proceed with the RFP?
I'll make a motion to
All right.
proceed with your.
Counselor Watley.
Support.
All right. Motion by Counselor Watley, second by Counselor Madore to move forward with an RFP for the resurfacing and redesign of the Pollyant Trail from Hosner to Elmwood Street. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Kristen, thanks again as always
Thank
for
you.
your input, for giving us potentially some money here. Okay,
Hey, Kristen, when you go to see the DNR, I know our name was at the top of the list when Linda went, we're still on the list, but now we're on the bottom. of it.
You're even up higher now. She walks on clouds and.
Sorry,
We're
Linda.
good.
Or-
It was a good meeting. It was a very good meeting. We have a lot of support at the DNR.
okay.
We're doing some good stuff.
On to item 9B is the Pollyant Trail Management Council outstanding items list that we've had on for several months, so we're just gonna run through these, as I say, real quick, but may not be the case. And Linda, you're usually the one that can update us on these. And the first one is Urban Habitat mowing contract.
Unfortunately, I did talk to Peter. His father passed away unexpectedly last week. So he is going to be getting us a contract, fingers crossed, next week. But I didn't want to push him because of his father's death.
He's your contractor of choice.
Yes,
Okay. So we'll leave him on, and hopefully by
next week.
our March 20th meeting, we'll be able to approve that contract.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Leonard Yard Trail repairs.
Just waiting for spring. I'm not drilling like the ice.
What's your desire is to get that done?
Oh, yeah.
Is the price still gonna be under 1,000?
Yeah.
Okay. So leave that on. And you said spring, you're talking May,
Maybe.
maybe? Pedestrian crossings on Lakeville, nothing new to report there. Does that need to stay on or come
Just
off?
get rid of it for now. I mean,
Councilman Dorr, you were shaking your head yes, didn't you?
yeah, just get rid of it.
Kristen, you don't know anything about that, do you?
No.
Okay,
So draw a line through that one line.
Yep. That one will come off. We'll just seek remove. Your Fragmite removal in 21 Canview.
They have until the end of the month to respond to the DNR and people. I did speak with Sage. She didn't have anything to report, and she said they have until the end of the month. So we're waiting till the end of the month. But I did hear that Oxford Township did send them a letter, building without permits. And the DNR sent them a letter, and ITC is also sending a letter. So an Eagle tagged their house while I was there. So
So it's in Eagle's hands then to actually
Eagles,
proceed.
MDNR, and
Oxford Township too.
Yeah, Oxford Township.
Township,
All right, we'll leave it on just for
just for updates.
updates. All right. Engineering design, we just went through that. Any update on the Justin Schilling Memorial?
No.
Nothing, okay. Leave it on?
Leave it on.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that, leaving it on, because we haven't heard anything, and the new fundraiser is going on right now for, can't remember the girl's name.
Really?
That-
Anna?
Yeah, yeah. And that seems to be a priority, and they're gonna also have something, I understand, honoring the other students that were affected in that incident, so
Take it off until we hear something further?
it's up to the board. I'm a little, we're not getting anything. I mean, we had one, mother came to the meeting, and I mean, we did take some action on it. We got a stone and got it to the location, but we've not heard anything further, so it's entirely up to the council. I don't see signs of movement.
Councilor Madore?
And I agree, I know I spoke to the mother in the past as well, and you guys have already, like you said, McDonald, done some action waiting. I would say remove it until we hear from her, but I would expect it at some time in order to come back. I spoke to Justin's dad this morning about another thing, he's doing a food drive. Through some organizations actively going out and trying to share the information, give people bags. And we're gonna allow them to be a spot for the food bags to be dropped off at our offices. So that was just a conversation I had with him this morning. So
Okay.
I know the parents, if I recall, the parents are separate.
They are different.
It was, one of them lived right near the village. I can't remember if it was the dad, it was the dad, right?
Okay.
Right near the spot, where, on the bridge where the other one was planned. So I know they have other irons in the fire and stuff like that, so I would say perhaps leave it off for now, so we don't have to go through it each month,
All right, good.
but expect something back.
Then, something will happen.
Vice Chair Rayfield, did you have a comment?
I have no problem with leaving exactly the way it is. I hate to see Mike hauling that boulder back, so I'll leave it right where it is.
Oh, the boulder, so,
The rat statement.
okay.
So,
Councilor Pfeiffer?
Yeah, after that, the mom had visited and we had the conversations, I missed a couple of meetings at the end of the year with you folks, and so I hadn't heard updates on it. I did set funding aside. I've got, some money earmarked from our nonprofit. If we take it off, I mean, I'm gonna start looking for other needs for the families. So, I mean, before I do that, I just kinda wanna make sure.
Why don't we wait 1 month, leave it on till next month, and I'll see if we can't get something from the mother
Okay.
within this next month. I know there were some court cases and some convictions and that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So perhaps the next 30 days might bring something to fruit. So maybe leave it on for 1 more month.
So is that something you'll contact?
I will
Sorry.
contact, yes.
Okay.
I will
That's
send
girl.
Yeah, I mean, I just hate to remove or take the
Yeah.
funding out, have it not be
And then-
available when they need it.
And day 32 she calls or something.
That would be, yeah.
1 more month? That's it?
Welcome in, come on in.
So it looks like we're leaving this.
We will leave it
Only
based
until
upon
we-
the final comments here that they want. All right. Bicycle rack, is that gonna be going in?
Well, I have
March,
2
April?
bicycle racks. I have gotten permission from Jeff Wilson out at Cave Materials to put it near the bench that we just put out there. Then we made the pad for, so we can put one there, and then one by the vault toilet in Oregon Township. I can't do that again until the ground thaws. So once the ground thaws, Kevin's gonna come out and help me cook it. Or, yeah, by the vault toilet. So,
All
and
right,
then,
so this will be 2 more meetings,
yeah,
stays on?
it's just too cold and icy,
All right.
so.
Procurement policies on our agenda later in the meeting. Wade Sullivan gazebo approval for Water Depot, still rumored or gonna be?
It's going to be, once the weather gets warmer again in the spring, Joe Quinn has consented to pour the pad for us. I did talk to Dave Shagina yesterday, and they are going to be doing the ride again for more fundraising to finish getting the money, collecting the money they need from the zero out there. Because they have a fancy gazebo in mind. So once they pick one out, we'll bring it to the council.
Any date in mind for the ride?
Same as last year, it would be,
May.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're leaving that one on?
Leave that one on?
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Winter maintenance signs all completed?
Yep, they're all up
All
on
up.
the trail, and then when the weather gets better, we'll take them down in the storm.
That one's off. Caney Water Main Project, did they get their Eagle permit?
They have, as of yesterday afternoon, no. They're still waiting for the Eagle permit.
Yeah.
So there's no movement there.
Not surprising. Right, Councilman Knoll?
Yes, I agree.
So we will leave it on because we need updates on trail disruption there.
Okay.
Eagle Scout Project, Lucas, have you been in contact with him?
March 3rd.
March 3rd. All right.
He's gonna be out March 3rd, and we're gonna start on March 3rd.
And you're gonna start down by Walden Road?
Nope, we are gonna start at Clarkson Road and move north to mile marker 3. That's the section.
Clarkson Road, north
North.
to mile marker 3.
Yep.
Okay,
So,
that's in the
And-
vicinity of our trespass.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Leonard Nature Park, I guess that would be Secretary McDonald.
Just waiting for construction season, and we're doing our own RFP for, we're gonna be our own contractor on it. We're probably not gonna have a overall contractor do it. So whether you leave it on or not, it's pretty much out of your hands. Council said, let you know when we do have something, construction, active construction, so it's entirely up to you whether you keep it or not.
I guess tying into that, Kristen, does that have any input to the RFP? When it gets sent out for the crossing that?
Well, you could take into consideration that we're gonna pay for the improvements at Elmwood Street. So I envision aprons on each side, Kristen, with handicap marking, handicap indicators on the ground, as well as at the entry point of the sidewalk from the south when it is constructed, that same accommodation will be there, the village will pay for that.
Yeah, in the attachment for the RFP, there's a place in there where I can make a notation that that work will be done by others. So that.
Yeah, if that works, yeah.
Yep.
When you plan to do the work on this again?
I would love to do it all this year, but I know currently doable is the intersection itself and the sidewalk, at least from the park to the Pollyant.
Yeah.
If we can go further south, it just depends on how we make out.
Does it still have to be bid out and all that, or you got a contractor?
No, the village is gonna do what it can, but we are hiring a contractor since we're paying for it. Well, hopefully we'll get a grant. We're gonna apply for a grant from the county, Park and Rec. But we do have enough funds available to do a portion of it. I think we can do the intersection work, and where it pertains to the Pollyant, we can get that done this year.
You don't know when you're starting?
Well, no, I can't say that I have a date, no.
So we can leave it on for updates. You give us monthly updates on the progress. Survey Orion Township, as far as I know, the attorney sent the letter hasn't been responded to. We have the survey ready to be staked out for that west property line, including the notch into that property. And was there a date that the survey would be performed?
Houston was hoping within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
I did talk to him yesterday and the day before, and he is gonna honor the $1,500 bid, even though he's gonna basically be surveying the entire west side, all the way down to the steel easement across the trail. He's gonna be doing that full section. I did tell him I needed to be on site to videotape it, and he needed 3 ledger markers so we could find them if the stakes moved.
Yeah,
So,
establish.
I'll be out there on site with him.
So we'll see where that goes, because this may not be an easy need
Yeah.
to fix.
The attorneys did send him a letter. He has an attorney that sent us a letter that basically said, yeah, prove it. So
You're about to do so.
we're about to do so. We're going to prove it. And there we go.
So to move forward, is that something that we should think about allocating funds for fencing or something like that?
I think we should allocate funds for fencing, but also, the conversation I had with the attorney brought to light the 3 outlots on Indian Wood. Under that criteria, those 2 properties could be lost if we don't fence them or put no trespassing signs.
This is a different location.
Correct, the one's north of Indian Wood.
Yeah. Councilor Madore,
Are you talking about could be lost like to adverse possession?
Yes.
I thought we're exempt from that. I know municipalities have been, so
There
our
was
ties with the DNR wouldn't give us some coverage?
There was some discrepancy as far as Menominee versus Stevens, I believe, back in '96. But it's a gray area.
But they updated the adverse possessions a few years ago.
Right.
I know municipality, public owned properties have some. certain
Yeah,
ones.
we have some protection under that, but it's a real gray area.
So by marking it at least, then we'll delineate where our property is.
Exactly. If we put up signs that says no mow, private property, then that covers us.
I think you want to say property boundary, not private property.
Okay, private, okay. Property boundary, no mow, or, yeah.
or I'm talking 2 different things here. We're talking the property in question, the trespass, then you
Right.
reiterated the property on Indianwood Road. So what we'll do then, if that's an issue, then
Yeah.
bring it to us for next month if we need to do any action.
Yeah, I want to check with Lisa because I don't want to lose,
Well, we're not doing nothing with it anyway, because it's so small, and we can't put a parking lot in it.
one, it's ours, so we can keep it. 2, if we don't want it and we have no use for it, we could approach possible other people to
Sure.
purchase it. So, I mean, that
All right,
would be
we'll
something.
continue that one.
I just don't want to lose property that I'm in charge of.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Knoll,
When they put the stakes in, is there any way that the survey company can put something in as permanent as what they can?
They'll put the steel stakes into the ground, the, what do you call it?
Monuments.
we can put a 3-foot monument in, but I'm thinking knowing this property owner,
Yeah.
they may disappear as well.
They will do.
That's what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
so how do we?
That's why you put witness points in.
Yeah.
That way, when it's gone, you'll have distances basically in a Y pattern,
Okay.
so you'll tie all 3 back to a certain point.
Right.
So
Benchmark.
that's why,
With 3 witness points, plus I will also be on site and videotape where the markers are. So we can refer back to the videotape, and we can also, we'll have the 3 witness markers. And I highly recommend that we at least fence part of that or something, we do something.
We need some big boulders,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hey, Ed, got more boulders?
so we'll see where this goes. What will happen, Linda, between now and our next meeting on this? The lead survey will be completed.
The survey will be completed, Lisa will have some response, she will send the survey and another letter to his lawyer, and then we'll go from there
All right.
and see what happens with that.
Secretary McDonald, and then Councilor Knoll, I believe.
I think that once we have the survey in our possession, we should talk to a fence contractor, see about getting a fencing for those. The primary would be for this location.
Right.
Secondary would be the other 3 lots. We might as well know what that's gonna cost.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a fence installer, so
Well, T-posts and some cattle fence should take care of it.
So you want another assignment, Linda?
well, it's associated with this, basically.
All right.
Start looking for fence contractors.
Oh. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
That way they're
good point.
She can have us ready to go by next month.
What else has she got to do?
She goes on vacation all the time, so I don't know.
Okay, settle down.
Last one on my list here is sign approval for pollinator garden. Is that ready to go?
Not yet. We're still tweaking it a little bit, probably the next meeting. And then we'll have to go to Orion to get a sign permit.
Sign design is still the same appearance, the way it looks?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be really, really nice.
Councilor Knoll, I missed you.
Going back to the survey and fencing, would the board be wise to put in motion some monies so we could promptly act on a fence if we needed to?
For me, it's like, all right, I'll wait to see what comes back.
I think we should wait till we see what comes.
No problem.
You know, council, I mean, I'm only one of 8 people here, so I'm willing to hear. You want to allocate monies for fencing now, or you want to wait?
Yeah, wait till we have a real number.
Wait. I'm hearing a wait consensus,
Lisa.
so we'll wait. Okay, anything further on outstanding items? If not, we'll continue to bring these back to keep council updated. All right, on to unfinished business, item 9C. 9C is flashing beacon lights. As you're aware, council, we removed those for liability reasons, and we couldn't find parts for them. They were outdated. And since then, Usher resident Angela Acock has requested to address council about reinstalling the beacon flashing lights, so I put her on the agenda. Angela, if you'd like to address council, you're welcome to have the floor.
Sure. I'm here from the Oxford chapter of She Runs This Town, which is a local women's run group. Judy Chapman is also a member. We're 200 to 250 strong in our membership, and we often use the Polly Ann Trail. As a group, we meet Saturday mornings at White Pine, going north and south on the trail, and then individually and in smaller groups, we're all using it quite a bit. And I live in Lakes of Indianwood and been blessed to have 2 access points to the trail. So we, I apologize, I think we're a little bit late to the game. I'm sure it's a little bit disconcerting for you to make a decision to remove them and then have someone questioning after the fact. And I do want to clarify, we're not questioning, disagreeing. We were just hoping to kind of get some understanding about whether or not there's a possibility of having the lights or something similar restored, and who the decision makers on that would be, and what motivated your decision to remove them. So that, well, I guess you did say that for the liability reasons and you couldn't find parts, but yeah. To understand if there's any possibility of having those reinstalled, and if our group, who's very motivated, could be helpful in some way toward doing that.
I know when we installed in 2011, the cost to us was about $50,000
Okay.
to install those flashing lights. So you mentioned about fundraising on getting those reinstalled, but I think the lean on council a little bit here to reinforce our decision, or if there's something they want to reopen up to say, yes, go ahead, do your fundraising, and you raise the money, come back to us, we'll think about this or give you approval to move forward. And some of the problem we had, we couldn't find parts to actually replace them, because I think if we would have, we probably would have left them in.
Sure.
Like that. But we had problems, people pushing the button, and then lights don't go on, they go across, and causing the liability aspect of it. Councilman Bador.
Yes, and you may have heard me speak briefly earlier about potentially realigning that because it's so wide where it crosses right now, and so that's in its infancy stage, I think, at this point. So it might be something that it could be a couple of years down the road before you could see even a possibility, and especially with the funding, because as you've heard, there's a lot of large projects the Trail Council's taken on that are absorbing attention and funds. Not that this isn't important, but it just is one of those things that have to fall into place. And it could be safer. The whole idea is make it safer, right? So if the realignment will make it safer, that might be one project. Then once that's done, then perhaps the lights could be a follow-up project.
So is there a certain, not a certainty, but a likelihood that the realignment would negate if you were to put flashing lights back in now? You'd have to start from zero once you realign it?
I'm sure you could move them and reuse them if they went ahead and moved 20 foot to the north or to the west on the north side or something like that. I'm sure the lights would be able to be reused. They're solar, right? So they're not.
They're connected together, so there's a connection underground to connect the 2 solars together. And they work in tandem. So,
Secretary McDonald.
I'm going to back up or rewind a little bit. The Polly Ann Trail has a legal crossing at both
Seymour Lake.
locations. However, we have to utilize the road commission for Oakland County right-of-way for the installation, and they are the ones that tell us whether or not the device that we are using is qualified to be used. It has to be a uniform traffic code conforming, I think is the right way to put it. So it's not like we can just go out and use any system. And as the road commission said to us, if the lights aren't working, that's our problem. They maintain it, but we have to buy it and I think they install it actually, because it's on their right of way. So they just said, if you can't fix the lights, then, there's no parts available. They don't have parts and they're the ones that maintain it. They couldn't find parts. So we just said, the most expedient thing to do is to remove any liability, because if somebody hits a run button and it doesn't turn on and somebody gets hurt, then it comes back on the trail and the road commission. So it was a long reach for us. It took us couple months to decide that the safest course of action was to deactivate and remove the lighting system so that those using the trail wouldn't expect that when they hit that button that everybody know that they were possibly going to be crossed. So it's basically, we're still in conformance with the road crossings, but they're not lighted. And I don't know, Kristen, I hate to put the arm on you again, but you've worked with these systems and they're $50,000 that won't cut it down for the crossings.
Yeah.
They're far more expensive. And Kristen is with Oakland County Planning, and she's quite familiar with the trails and costs with most of that stuff. So
Yeah, and typically too, I guess to your point, there's a foundation that goes in, so I mean, you're gonna be needing to remove that foundation and pay for the removal and then reinstalling. So it's probably almost as much to remove it,
Organize
replace
a
it.
couple
than-
county trucks, it's not cheap.
Yeah, so,
Treasurer Pearson.
Yeah, we had the best intentions. We paid the money to put those up. The road commission told us what we had to buy. We paid the money. Then they kept failing, and the road commission kept sending us thousands of dollars of bills to go out and work on, because nobody else is allowed to work on them. They have to send someone out, and they send a crew, and we kept paying those bills over and over again. And then eventually the road commission says, the ones that we told you to buy are pretty much junk. So then we got stuck with the bill, and the only way to, like I said, to protect us was to take them down, because apparently we got sold a bill of goods that wasn't any good. So there are ones in Orion Township, I see right there at Atwater, that look very nice, and they seem to be working. I've gone by there many times at 24 and Atwater, so maybe we can, or you could check down there and see who manufactured those, or who put them in, or if it was Orion's, the Village of Orion, or if it was the Road Commission. I don't know who put those in, but they are working. So I just don't know what they cost, but we had the best intentions. It's just that we got hosed, okay? And so we had to do something to take them out for liability purposes.
How much of the trail do you actually use, your running club?
I don't think we definitely use a lot between Indianwood and how far up north do you think we go toward?
At least
I don't know,
5
people are
miles.
running,
5 miles.
5
at
to 10
least.
miles,
You go to
yeah.
Larry Albrecht Bridge and
Yes.
Yes.
When we're feeling spicy.
what's your safety confidence on intersections that don't have crossing signals?
I'm trying to think of the ones that I cross. Sometimes I'll cross at Indianwood and, no, Indianwood to get on, where it jogs past Joslin and into Lake Orion. But currently, we don't have a lot of confidence at all. And candidly, even with the flashing lights, it wasn't great.
Right.
But without it, it is, it's
But even at Seymour with it 25 miles an hour, it's wow.
Down the hill.
That the sight level, I think too, because even I would drive into White Pine down Seymour to meet the running group, and the visibility from there and the way they were talking earlier about the way some parts are angled, like it is difficult to see, and that's why we thought, the light is just doesn't mean everybody stopped for it, but it was
you
just
felt
an
better.
extra.
So can I ask some questions just for my understanding? So, frankly, I keep saying this, and I think I said it to you in the email, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but as a layperson, like I don't understand. So Oakland County does everything with regard to these lights, the road commission, except for pay for them.
Correct.
But does that make sense to
They
you?
maintain them.
That's what.
You caught on real quick.
Okay. So, okay, but there's just, okay,
So in response to that, if the crossing was 100 feet to the east, it'd be in the village. And we maintain it our own roads and stuff like that. As soon as you get outside of any city or village, you're in the townships. Most of the property in the state of Michigan is out in townships. So the road commissions have all jurisdiction over the roads in those areas.
but not the wallet?
Well, you've asked their permission to add this nicety to their road.
To their road.
Okay,
There's no requirement for it, so if they were required, that would be different.
okay, okay.
Because they're
That
guided by
clicks
Act
for me.
51, gas tax monies and stuff like that. They, specific reasons why they get funded and what they do with that funds,
Okay,
those funds.
okay. All right, thank you. That's really helpful for me to think of it in those terms. And then completely understand why you decided the best course of action was to remove them. When you remove them, was there any thought or consideration to pricing out getting new ones? Or were you just like, we're done with this?
Well, based on our budget, you have to be all grants or fundraisers or donations. We're running a $100,000 budget to manage 60
Okay.
miles of trails.
So you just knew that would be
It's very
futile?
difficult
Okay.
to do that. These were actually installed with the grant monies back in 2011.
And then if folks were able to fundraise, I know you're saying that the Oakland County Road Commission has to approve whatever's put in. Is it pointless for us to use resources to find people who are experts or willing to donate or whatever, come up with a plan to add these lights and say, will you approve this? Or do they not want you to proactively come to them with the type of lighting and the people that, oh, you said they have to do the work?
They have to.
Boy, that's a good gig. So,
There might be a dozen options out there across the country
Right.
that fit the code that Mr. McDonald talked about.
Okay.
So, again, there's options. They still have to fit in the box.
Okay.
And their boxes, if you leave it up to them, they will choose which one in that box perhaps. And they might have some experience with it, and they might say, well, we're used to working on this one, so therefore they lean to that one.
okay,
But there might be some other ones that somebody could find out there if you're working with some.
But they may or may not be open to a suggestion of, we found it cheaper, we found this. Will you approve this, or is it just, this is, like you're saying, they kind of said, this is what you have to do, versus us offering options? No.
Secretary McDonald, you had
I'll defer to Councilman
Councilor Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer.
Well, I guess I'm kind of speaking to you guys about this. I think to get to a point of maybe where you guys can leave maybe with some hope, I thought would be if there was funding, let's just say if there was funding and that wasn't something that had to come out of our budget, and if it was on an approved option, I don't think that we would be against that. I don't think anybody up here, I don't think anybody would have an issue with that up here. So then what that leads us to is, I think, some fairly obvious steps. One is identifying what the equipment is and the cost, which can be some phone calls and a little bit of work, which you guys can take on.
Maybe some.
Yeah, you can reach out to SEMCOG would be one of the options, and we can probably give you some pointers in terms of direction. And there's also the potential for grants that you guys can apply to as a group. You guys can create a group and apply for grants, so it doesn't all have to be fundraising. I don't know if they can do that on our behalf, or if they can do it if they can create their own. They have a group that could be a nonprofit, and they might be able to do that. So I think there is a path, but we need someone to champion it, because the reality is this is one of a bunch of roles that we all cover. And it's gonna be, it's not an easy, quick thing, but heck, then this is, to me, it's ideal. They have citizens that wanna say, hey, we see an issue, we wanna fix it. We all struggled with it. I mean, it was really well broken down here as to why we really didn't have a choice. But no, I think in a perfect world, we'd love for you guys to be happy with what's at the crossing, and we'd like to be happy with, something at the crossing that's safer, and, so I think there is a path that you guys could potentially lead on and champion.
Mr. Chair?
Vice Chair Brakefield,
I was getting tired.
and Secretary McDonald, and then whoever wants to.
Not to throw a monkey wrench in the ideas, okay? We purchased these many years back, around 50,000. And so we had to go through the road commission because that's in the road commission right away. Say you found the perfect light and it would work perfect. It's got to be approved by the road commission. They're not really generous about approving anything that's not theirs. Then comes, you're going to put it in, 4 years down the line, it breaks. They would not let us fix it. They had to fix it at a ticket of about $1,000 a visit. So you got to remember, not only are they in, they got to work at your expense. You can't just, my friend knows electricity, so he's going to go over there and put a new light in. They will not allow it. They would have to come out. So that's something, once you get it, you got to take account that road commission's got to keep it maintained, which is very expensive.
We pay the bill.
And we paid the bill, or you would pay the bill.
So, yeah, so that would have to be part of, but there's a path.
Secretary McDonald?
Along the theme of the meeting, I think, has carried itself. We support anything that helps us with safety on the trail. Really, what your logical next step would be to find out what devices are. They have to be the Uniform Traffic Code compatible, because that's all that the road commission will approve for use on one of their roadways. So you'll have some choices for Uniform Traffic Code compatible devices. Then you have to determine whether or not, once you have that device or several devices, contact the road commission and see if any of those devices meet their criteria. Then if they do, then you can find out how you're going to get the money to buy whatever your choice is. You've narrowed it down to that point. Then you would come back to us and say, listen, we've got the device, we've got, all we need is your approval, we'll fundraise, we authorize, and then the road commission installs it. So hopefully that, Kristen, you're cringing, what's up?
Yes.
There might be a
Let
few
me
steps missing in there. It might be, you may need a set of signal plans, just for design purposes. So again, that's where the design comes in, and then your engineer would recommend the appropriate lighting and work with the road commission. And I believe they have certain pre-qualified vendors that can do that type of design work, but that's, I think, really where you need to be. And then there are maintenance agreements that need to be signed and spelled out, so I think there's.
My path takes you to money, and then you might have a big decision to make there. In fact, you will, because we're not talking a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
We're talking tens of thousands of dollars. If you're lucky, it'll be in the tens of thousands.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a great exercise on the drawbacks of big government.
I was just gonna say, because this is a community project and it has to do with all the citizens in Orion and Oxford, you might wanna get a hold of your county commissioner and see what the county says about that. Because that might be something that they might wanna take up, because, they may understand the importance of it, and let them decide if maybe this should be done, and you might get some support there.
You know our county commissioner? Michael Spiz, S-P-I-S-Z.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Does he have Orion too?
No, you have to get blocks for Orion.
Yeah.
You have Gingell, right?
Gingell.
Gingell.
Sorry.
And
Another great
Gingell's
guy.
Orion, right? Yeah.
But these two are just,
They're
considered
both
Oxford.
in Oxford.
You guys have numbers though, you know, and that typically makes politicians pay attention.
We thought probably there are not biker groups, but bikers. There are probably
There's a lot of clubs that use the trail
Yeah.
too,
Sure.
like clubs,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
like very serious.
Yeah, so hopefully we've given you quite a bit of leads here to take the next step.
Yeah,
And then,
very much appreciated, yeah.
If you want
We appreciate
to
you
keep
coming.
us.
Well, the
keep us updated.
information, especially knowing that even if we found a great thing, if they approved it and then it breaks.
Yeah.
We're back to where we
Welcome to our group.
Well, exactly what just happened.
Then you're chomping at the bit to speak to.
Well, no, I was just going to ask the council a question, if it would be all right if I contacted or reached out to the road commission and lended assistance to these fine ladies that run our town.
And how much are you charging them to do this?
I'm not gonna charge them.
So you want us to pay it?
Yeah, pretty much. No,
If you have that desire,
I
Linda,
have,
if you have the desire, then go
Yeah.
ahead and,
I just want permission to, like, if I'm able to lend support, because I know
we have connections.
I have connections.
I have no issue with that. We want to vote on that.
I think Angela and Judy would be more than happy to have you help.
We went
So,
some,
I mean, you know, we do a lot of interaction with the road commission. You know, maybe somebody has some marvelous answers.
Find out who put those in at Atwater.
I know.
That would be a good start, right?
yeah.
Bill, well, at Atwater, I don't know, but Billy put them in at Drainer. I know that, because I talked to Billy.
Or Angela, if anything else, you have my email, Linda will be in contact with you, or if you have anything more you'd like to.
So, no, thank you very much.
Really clarified a lot.
Thanks for coming out.
Trying to figure out.
Okay, so we're gonna move on our meeting.
Yeah.
We're going on to new business. And up next is the renewal of our MMRMA insurance policy renewal. And you can see the cost went up $283 over the 2023-2024 policy. And also, if you look in the back sheet, it shows we got $904 back. Rebate money, I'll call it, being part of the pool. So even though it's $3,432, where that money comes back to make our net cost a lot less.
I move to approve the renewal of the Pollyanna Trailway Management Council insurance policy with the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority for the period of February 25th, 2024 through February 25th, 2025 in the amount of $3,432, and authorize the chairman to sign the coverage proposal on behalf of the Pollyanna Trail Management Council. This $3,432 amount to be expensed to account 298-853-955-000, insurance Pollyanna Trail.
Support.
Okay, a motion by Treasurer Pearson, second by Councilor Pfeiffer to approve the MMA insurance, MMRMA insurance policy renewal. Any further questions on this? If not, we'll do a roll call. Secretary McDonald?
For the approval of authorization of the chair to sign the aforementioned insurance provider. Pearson,
Yes.
Pfeiffer,
Yes.
Watley,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
McDonald, yes. Mador,
Yes.
Wakefield,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, that's approved there. I will sign that. Linda, you want me to send that over, or are you gonna send that over?
If you want to send it over to them, that'd be great. I
Okay.
do need a copy because I have to give it to, well, once we get the face
All right.
sheet signed off, I gotta send it to the DNR.
All right, I'll take care of it. On item 10B, a nonprofit event request. This is a run over addiction request from the guest house in Orion Township. They're looking to use a portion of the Pollyanna Trail from Clarkson Road South to approximately Scripps Road. This is planned for Saturday, August 3rd, I believe it is. So I'll put the motion. So hopefully that's correct. Okay, yeah. And because it's not a pre-approved nonprofit recurring event, that's why it's on the agenda to get approval. So if there's no further questions, I'll entertain the motion to approve. Secretary McDowell.
Could the motion include the designation as a repeat event in the future and put it on our
Yeah, you can make a motion.
regular?
Make it that way.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from Guest House to utilize a portion of the Pollyant Trail in Orion Township for a nonprofit event scheduled for Saturday, August 3rd, 2024, contingent upon receipt of a current certificate of insurance naming the Pollyant Trailway Management Council and the Michigan Department of Natural Resources as additional insured, and add this event to our pre-approved annual event list.
Second.
We got a tie.
Yeah,
We got a tie. I'll give it to Counselor Knoll. He's an expert. Okay, any further questions on the nonprofit event request? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. On to item 10C, Pollyant Trail Management Council nonprofit procurement policy. This was brought up in a previous meeting to explore it, so Secretary McDonald was kind enough to print off a lot of policies for the council back on January 23rd, and now it's up for discussion. If we want to leave this policy in place, amend the policy, get rid of the policy, or something in between. So I'll open the floor up to comments on this policy, and I'll start with Secretary McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically, I kind of predicated my submission of this information to the council because we had talked about whether and how we would, going forward, deal with the requirements for bids or quotes for projects. And since we didn't have anything in writing other than a relatively defunct impressed petty cash policy, I printed this out basically to get the conversation started. So I'll leave it up to the council whether or not we want to pursue this at all, if we're okay with the way we've done things for 7 years, or whatever. So,
I know
Thank you.
for me, looking at this, based upon the amount of monies we expend, the amount of expenditures we have and the price of them, I think the procurement policy is rather cumbersome and bulky to try to go out and get through bids for peat warrants, for example, when we already have these people that we're comfortable with. So, not that I'm opposed to procurement policy, but I think if we have this in place, I know in Oxford Township we have one in place and we're constantly waiving those procedures for it. So I guess I'll ask Kristen a question too. Does a procurement policy give you any advantage when you're applying for grants?
For grant purposes, not that I'm aware
There's
of.
nothing, because I've heard that that's something that you have to have one in place to actually increase your chances of grants.
Not that I'm aware of. There are certain like competitive bid requirements through MDOT, but MDOT actually bids out like the transportation alternatives program. So they follow their own procurement procedures, but not that I'm aware of for any other.
Because when I looked at this, code of conduct and all that, I think council's pretty solid in the code of conduct. And then, when I looked at getting bids or quotes, I could see maybe for like our most expensive one was Dave Vandenberg. And how many was out there to actually get a bid and that we were satisfied with that type of thing.
There's only two.
That council. Councilor Knoll, you had your hand up.
I had a chance to look at this and talk to a couple of the board members in regards to this. I think we need to possibly look at this, on how we do business today, and have a procurement policy on file and adapt this to how we do business and how we can use this to the benefit of the council, as well as our 1099 contract.
Councilor Pfeiffer, you're thinking hard.
Yeah, I think sometimes simpler is better. I think, and I love the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I don't think it's a bad idea to have a policy in place. I think this one might be a little bit more than what we need.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to require some time to go through and really pick out what's important and be careful that we don't, put things in place that are going to make what we do more challenging.
Yeah, make more work for us.
Yeah.
Any other comments from council? All right, Linda. Yeah,
Well, I guess my concern on that is we sent out the RFP, we got one bidder back. You know, if we require 3 bids, is that just gonna muddy the waters and tangle things up? With our fall cutting, there's only 2 guys that I'm aware of and one we don't use anymore. So there's not 3 available to get 3 bids for. So I don't know.
They usually delay the work getting done by requesting those bids to come back to decide, number one, if you get 3 bids, number 2, if you get them, if you like them or not.
Right, and you
So-
know, if you have one, you get 2 bids back and one you don't do business with anymore, and the other one is adequate and does a good job, and I mean, I understand the need, and I'm always looking for a better price, but that's me.
Councilor Madore.
Yeah, and I agree, it's good to have the guidelines or policy, really more than guidelines, but yeah, sometimes it just makes it awful difficult. Um, Set a high bar, maybe when you have to get to that sometimes too is helpful.
I go to Councilor Wiley, Vice Chair Brakefield, and then Councilor Knoll.
I mean, I like having the policy in place, but we run into this all the time. We do a lot of purchasing, procurement, and if we have a very qualified bidder, and there's only one bidder that can do the work, we will bring it to the board, and we will ask to waive the policy, and we'll justify the reasons why. And I think that's the same thing for you. Like, having a policy in place, while the board is, very conscious of our fiduciary responsibility, you can bring it to us and say, this is the reason why we need to do this, or there's only one select bidder for this, specialized service, whatever it may be, so.
Vice Chair Brakefield.
Okay, Mr. Watley did bring up a very, very important part. You do need to, would be wise to come to this council and ask us to waive the 3-bid requirement, then present it. We would just like to give it to Peter because he's done it, or Dave because he's done it in the past. That would be a nice way about, without saying you have to get 3 bids, to keep it legal, in my opinion.
Councilor Knoll and Councilor Pfeiffer.
The current policy, we do call out 3 quotes. I think we need to revamp this current policy with the acknowledgement that if we can get 3 quotes, wonderful. If we can't, then bring it in to the council as Ed has suggested, and ask for a waiver of that. The issue comes down to, if that's the way we do business, that's the way we do business, but it still puts on the books a procurement policy that we all should adhere to.
Councilor Pfeiffer.
My only concern with this direction, I think it makes perfect sense, but my guess is that, and I think I know some of the people, when you're dealing with the folks that you're dealing with, you aren't gonna have necessarily the time frame to go through a period for, let's say, for cutting, where you're gonna get the guys that you know can do it, you're gonna have time to wait till the next meeting to get in front of us, to get the okay, to go with the one. So I don't wanna tie your hands too much to the point that we create some unforeseen issues where all of a sudden we're not getting mowed because she had to wait to get in front of us to give her a waiver. So I think we just have to be very cognizant of that, because the nature of the folks that she's utilizing to do some of these services are not necessarily your most organized businesses. They're not going to be the best at terms of doing bids in general. And like, she knows who we can work with and who we can't. And if you're never going to get 3 bids, then why should you have to come in front of us every time for an area where we know we're not going to get 3 bids for the mowing? So just food for thought.
Yeah, well, a good example is when you go through the bills in 2023, take MMRMA, $3,000. We got to go and procure that with 3 bids to see who's the insurance company, to see if they can beat it. You know,
Nobody can beat it, nobody can beat it.
and that's the case in point. Now, we can put something together, and what will happen is, just like we do in auction, like I said, we're gonna end up waiving that policy and moving forward.
Right.
But it's the timeframe of it.
And anytime there's large expenditures over the $500, and I I bring it to the council anyway. You know, and I always am looking for the next guy, the better bid, you know, better services, less money. And I'm always looking for that.
Yeah, I think to your credit, Linda, is that's what you do already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cheating.
Well,
We aren't always gonna have Linda, I'm sure someday she's gonna wanna live on that private island, and that's when the policies were gonna become much more important.
you're exactly right.
To protect, you know.
We're so
protect
close
the
to trail now.
Yeah, we are a little spoiled.
When the players change, you
Right.
know, that's when something is definitely gonna be more prevalent. But I'd say, okay, Councilor Knoll.
I guess the question comes down to then, do we need a procurement policy? Does the board feel we need it? If we do need it, then we need to adjust the procurement policy on how we do business. So if Linda knows that the grass is gonna grow and we're gonna have to get it cut, she might take last year's quote and say she can ask permission for a not to exceed to expedite systems so she's not waiting for us to come together for a meeting. So there's ways around this, if the board feels that we need a procurement policy.
Okay, Secretary McDonald, do you know how old this policy is?
Well, no, actually, this policy is one that I plagiarized from a nonprofit website for an operation. And yeah, I didn't do it saying we should vote on this. I did it to get this conversation started. So I apologize if there was any misunderstanding about that, but it applied with, you know,
So we don't have one in place then?
so we don't have one in place technically.
All right.
Just the impressed petty cash procedure was the only procedure that I've seen anything in writing. Now, past practice has been, we've always been frugal, so we're operating that way now, but we're relying on basically one person, the trail manager, to do all the solicitation, quotes, bids, whatever. And this is transparent, you know, this policy, as we all know, makes things transparent. In my village, our policy is unless the village council says we must have 3 bids, we then only require 3 quotes. So I can solicit 3 quotes, document them, and present that to the council as, here's what's out there, here's what's available. A lot of times I don't get a call back, you know, I mean, I just document what I did. So I'm not trying to say this is what we must do.
It's a suggestion.
But it's just a suggestion of it, and I'm sorry if we've invested a lot of time in conversation in it, so.
No, it's important.
Councilor Pfeiffer.
No, I think it's important. I'm glad you did it, and I appreciate it. I think just to kind of bring this to a consensus, from what I'm hearing, I believe what I'm hearing is, yes, we need a policy. We need to be simple, and we need to be flexible with it, so that we don't hamstring Linda. And I think we know that. I don't think we're gonna do that sitting here. So I think we can use, you know, maybe what you started us with, and we can narrow that down to a simpler, shorter, clean procurement policy.
Yeah.
But I think it is our responsibility to have one. I do agree that it is, you know, something we need to have.
So this is what I'm gonna do then. Does the Village of Oxford have one? Okay. You have one? Lorraine has one? Village does. We have one. You have one. Send those all over to me. We'll have a draft for the plan for the March meeting. Try to put something together out of what everybody has, and then we'll see if we can come to a consensus of making it so it's on the books and potentially somewhat simple.
Support.
Second.
Well, even a motion.
So we'll wait for.
I think it was you,
Go ahead, motion.
Mr. Wright,
All right. All right, you want me to-
and Matt, I think he was the first to say
All
something.
right,
Oh, yeah.
all right, you're the secretary, so you put the motion together. Okay, then motion and second. Motion by, was that a motion?
You were.
All right, motion by Chairman Wright, second by Councilor Pfeiffer, I believe it was.
Yeah.
To provide procurement policy draft for the March 20th, 2024 Pollyant Trail Management Council meeting. Any questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. On to impressed petty cash procedures. This is another one that was in the stack that Secretary McDonald created, so we put it on the agenda to see, do we need this one? It seems like this is pretty antiquated. It was approved in 2009, and it looks like council president at that time was Matt Gibb. So for those that don't know Matt Gibb, he was a former supervisor in Orion Township, and that's 15 years ago. So
Yeah.
I don't believe this is a policy, in my opinion, that we're following, number one, and number two,
Do we have petty cash?
No.
No.
so.
I
I didn't think so. I didn't think so.
Councilman Knoll.
We have, we worked real hard years past to change Linda's rollover to a 1099 contractor. I don't think there's any need to have a petty cash policy or petty cash within the pockets of the Pollyant Trail.
All right. Do you want to make a motion to put something on the record?
I'd like to make a motion that we eliminate the petty cash procedures that were dated back in 2009 and move forward with how we're currently doing business today.
A second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Knoll, second by Vice Chair Brakefield to eliminate the petty cash policy. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. On to our last item on our agenda for business. There's a beverage container drive. Councilors, as you know, in past years, Linda Moran, manager, has been instrumental in doing beverage container drives, very successful, if I might add to that, especially the COVID year, by a record-setting beverage container drive that she put on there. So once again, she's requesting council approve a beverage container drive for the month of March, I believe. So this, Manager Moran, if you want to add anything to your request?
Well, the last couple of Marches, we've teamed up with Oxford Addison Youth Assistance. They bring the people, we split the money. They're a nonprofit that works with kids in Addison and Oxford. Last year, we raised $4,000, $2,000 for us, $2,000 for them. Just want to repeat it. You know, if we can move forward every month, we can have March Madness month. Do the pop bottle drive, raise funds for our local kids, and then raise money for the Pollyant Trail as well. So,
Secretary McDonald.
Is Village of Oxford / Oxford Police Department going to make their facilities available for us for this purpose?
Yes.
Once again.
thanks, Joe.
Well, appreciate it.
Chief Mike is the chair of Oxford Addison Youth Assistance, so I know he says yes.
So Linda, on this here, is this something that we should just incorporate March, the annual beverage container drive, as long as Linda Moran is trail manager?
I would like that, that would make things a lot easier, that we can just do it. You know,
We
bring it back.
have full reign in March to move forward, but I don't know. That's just a
Annually,
thought.
make it an annual, we're done under our hoods.
Yes. March Madness.
Is it a nonprofit event?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, Vice Chair Brakefield.
I'd like to approve an annual beverage container drive for during the month of March in coordination with Oxford Addison Youth Assistance. Oxford Addison Youth Assistance shall receive 50%, is that correct? 50% of the proceeds, with the remainder of the proceeds deposited in the Pollyant Trail Management Council revenue.
Support.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Brakefield, second by Councilor Pfeiffer to approve the beverage container drive, if approved, soon to be annually in March of every year. Any further questions, comments? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries on that. On to public comment. Any further comment? No? Okay. Council member comments, starting with Councilor Watley.
No comment.
No comment? Councilor Pfeiffer.
Come on, you know I've got to have something. Just want to give, I guess, the council and you, Linda, a heads up that we have a new business opening at the trail. They're going to be right at Clarkston, where the new bathroom is. Right across from there, it's going to be Pushno Wellness. Jess Dews is the owner of that, so they're moving the facilities there. And she already approached me about being able to work with the Pollyant Trail. They would like to do races, maybe get involved in doing a garden or do some help with the trail in that area. So I just,
Send you my information.
I will. I'm going to connect you guys, and she's wonderful, really good person, good local business owner. And she wants to help support the trail and utilize it with her, fitness training. So that'll be kind of a cool double win, I think.
What's the business again?
Pushna Wellness. They're currently located on M24, and they just leased the space there, that building.
The solar panel place.
Yep. Yep, so she'll be, they're in the process and hope to be open there, I believe, by March.
And it's not a marijuana.
It's not a marijuana facility. I don't know what they do with their training, but their focus is in marijuana.
Any more, Councilman Pfeiffer?
No, sir.
That's all you
I-
need?
I,
Councilman
killed
Madore?
my time.
Village parking lot bids are out right now. We hope to get that approved at our March meeting. Start maybe the 1st of April, hope to be done end of May, around Memorial Day. So we're gonna miss all the windows for you, Curtis, so we won't affect your.
Appreciate
But we will be affecting the trail access some days here and there where she won't be able to get to the back barn. As it'll all be tore up and done. Drainage structures going in, new drainage, and then of course the base coat and asphalt, all that stuff. So
So stuff's going down.
she may have to stage it somewhere for a week or so here and there.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we're tired of having the worst lot in town.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Treasurer Pearson?
Nothing.
Nothing. Secretary McDonald?
You know, it was a real pleasure to have, as always, Kristen's a fantastic asset and friend to the trail and does miracles for us. And also the people that take the time to support the trail.
We love
It means a lot to us. Thank you.
Councilor Noel?
I would just like to add the possibility of when we turn things over to Megan and the group for the township, Oxford's master plan, to make sure that we reference our own master plan. It's come to light that we've had some master plans within the township that are a little dated. And so we have worked very hard to get things brought up to speed so that the latest and greatest master plan that is put out at the end of the year and approved from the township has covered the bases of Parks and Rec, Pollyanna Trail, possibly water and sewer within the township, and some of the other ones that I have just, the safety path master plan. So the more interjection we get in from our master plan into the township master plan, I think the stronger the master plan will be within the township.
Vice Chair Brakefield?
I agree with everything everyone said.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Turn around.
Yeah, Chair, want to
let the chair say anything?
Oh,
He's past
no,
time.
because we might, I'll get pizza. Oh, how's that?
Oh, all right. Here, here's my cell phone.
No.
Call now.
Go ahead.
Just want to make a comment. Secretary McDonald sent out all these policies and applications. I think it's important that we review these to see if they need to be updated, just like the two that we looked at today. On that, my other comment is to congratulate Linda on her beautification award she got from the Orion Chamber, correct?
Orion Chamber and Oxford Chamber coming up in March. We're getting an award for the Pollyanna Trail for the beautification.
Oh,
So-
at the state of the
The
township
state of the
address?
township.
And village
think it's state
manager
of the community
McDormand will be
address,
one of the MCs.
Yeah.
there. He'll be,
Are you going to be presenting? Are you going to be presenting?
yes, he
our
is.
award?
Not at your ward.
Oh.
That'll be Amy in the chamber doing that.
That was breaking news, so that's good.
Yep,
That's good.
just found that out.
So other than that, I will send it out to Kevin in comments.
I'm good.
You're good? Linda, last word?
I just want to say thanks, everybody. Thanks, ladies, for coming out.
Thanks
for having us. And thanks, Kristen. She's like brilliant. She's my sensei. Yeah. I learn so much every time I talk to her. All right.
We'll send it to Kristen. Kristen, anything you want to give us?
Just thank you for all of your work and continued efforts on the trail. It is really an amenity for the county, so thank you for your work.
Plus with your assistance. All right, Treasurer Pearson.
Oh, I have nothing to say.
You made a motion. I'll second his motion
What was the motion?
to
Extend the
adjourn.
To get pizza.
To adjourn.
Get pizza.
All right, motion by Treasurer Pearson, second by Vice Chair McDowell, no, Brakefield, to adjourn the meeting at 4:47. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
You're opposed.
Is that it?